Good.
And then you could bring, and then now we can emit them.
Sounds good. Yeah, do you want to go into presenter mode?
Okay. Yes.
There we go. Okay, I'll admit them now.
Hello, everybody. We will be getting started at promptly 12:30. So we will give everybody a minute or two to log in. So just hold on tight. Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to this Whistle Stop Wednesday Library Week special of search terms. What are they? Presented by me, Pamela Terajak. I'm one of the information specialists. I serve primarily the Youngstown campus and our online community. I would ask that you would keep yourself muted throughout this presentation. If you have any questions, we might have time for a question and answer session at the end of this presentation. So let's get started. The first thing that I will go through is, what are search terms? If you've used the library chat feature, you've heard us say something about search terms. Search terms are the keywords that you will use to conduct research, because you know when you're on Google, you put a whole sentence or a whole question or your whole prompt or the instructions for your assignment in there, and will kind of spit out whatever it wants you to spit out, whatever it wants you to have, whatever it thinks is good for you to have. In the library, the system likes keywords and not sentences like in the Google search. So it is vitally important to use as surgically chosen keywords as possible. The keywords can be one word, a phrase, or a complex phrase chain. And the benefits of using keywords is you'll get exactly what you want instead of what it wants you to have. And also, if in the library, it will get you the results you need. But also in Google, if you learn search terms with what we use in the library, you can kind of hack Google and kind of override what it kind of wants you to see and get what you really need out of it. So it does have that really nice benefit on the side to teach you how to hack Google, which is always great. So how do you determine search terms? You usually don't go into a library search or any search completely blind. You usually have a topic in mind. You usually have a specific prompt from a professor, or you usually have a thesis statement sort of written already before you begin your search. So with that in mind, you would take the prompt or the thesis statement and find the most important words in those statements. Those help form some keywords or search terms. We will go through a few illustrative scenarios in order to show you how to draw out search terms from some different scenarios, and for your classes or for a research assignment. One will be a simple prompt. One will be a more complex prompt for a longer project. One will be a topic that you have determined by yourself, and you want to explore that in mind. And one is the thesis statement that you have already pre-written before you've done any research, which is not recommended, but I've seen people do that before, so might as well cover it. The first scenario we have is a simple prompt that your professor might have you write for a 300 word essay for something, just to give you an idea of a reflection paper. The prompt wording is such: research the recent treatments of Alzheimer's disease. So in Google, you might put the recent treatments of Alzheimer's disease in there, and it will spit out all these medical things that have all these, I would say, advertisements on there. But the search terms that you really want to look for are the most important words in the search. So the first term that you will determine that is the most important is Alzheimer's disease. You know, if you plug that one into the library, you'll get probably a lot of research, because that's a very talked about disease that is on a lot of people's minds, no pun intended, and that people are researching as we speak. So when you look that, just for that, you'll get all sorts of stuff, from diagnostics to prevention to treatments itself. So you want to make sure you're answering your professor's prompt for the recent treatments of Alzheimer's disease. So you'll have to determine the prompt specifically said recent treatments. So both Alzheimer's disease and treatments must be used. Why didn't I use the word recent, you might ask? Because you could tweak other aspects of the search to find the part that will answer the word recent. And I'd like to show you now how that will look sort of in the interface. So what that will look like in the interface is on the main library search page. When you are in Gateway Search, you would type in Alzheimer's disease plus treatments, and you can hit search. Or if you're on a results page and you've typed in Alzheimer's disease in the quotation marks, you could add the word treatments underneath as an and phrase. I will go through what the plus signs and the ands are in a little bit later. You will notice that when I have searched in the results page, searching Alzheimer's disease and treatments, you will notice I have 600,740, 171 results. That's really broad, but then you can refine the results on the left-hand side of the results screen by clicking the full text function. You could also adjust the parameters for the publication date. And if you want to get more information on that, you may go on our website and at our YouTube page and find our most current deep dive into library services, in which I and my colleague show you how to refine library searches a little bit more and use that refine results area a bit more. You could also if you are on our this is just a general gateway search, by the way. So if you wanted to refine your results a little bit more, you can choose a database that would be more specific for healthcare, like SynHall, and you'll get even better refined results. But since I'm just teaching you how to do search terms, though, it's showing you what wording you need to use in order to complete that kind of assignment, is finding the recent treatments for Alzheimer's. So that will be what it will look like in the search interface with that wording. And thank you, Julia, for the most recent deep dive. Now the next thing we have is a more complex prompt, because sometimes your professor will have you do a PowerPoint presentation or a long research paper that will require many working elements in order for you to complete your assignment, because the 300-word essay is only a page and a half or a page, or 2 pages, whereas a more complex prompt would allow for a research paper of 8 or 9 pages. So this one is something that requires a broadening of thought and many different kinds of elements in order to find the search terms you will need. The prompt text is this: pretend you are in an art class and you're asked to write about this topic. Research an artist, include information about their biography, their art style, their methods, and their impact in history. The search terms, first, you will have to actually pick an artist, because you can't just go in there and say artists' biographies and get something, because you'll end up with so many artists and so many different biographies and so many pieces of information that you'll get lost in the shuffle. First, you'll have to pick an actual artist. So for my purposes, because I've recently fallen in love with his artwork, I am picking Frank Lloyd Wright. For biographical information, you get to simply type their name into the library search bar, and that may give you several biographical sketches and biographies. Both can also contain information relevant to the other parts of the prompt. But biographies are by nature large, and you have to slog through fairly long. Excuse me, I've got to get a sip of water. This large amount of page numbers in order to find the relevant information you would need. You can use something like the index, for example, but you might want to find something more granular for your research. So that way you could break it down into smaller areas and small bunches of smaller elements. Art style is one of the elements that your professor needs. So you could find Frank Lloyd Wright plus style. Other important elements are impact or method or techniques. So sometimes fulfilling search terms aren't summed up in one phrase chain, but maybe multiple phrase chains used for multiple searches. So don't be afraid of not finding something on just one massive search. And sometimes it's just the breaking it up in smaller little digestible phrase change in multiple searches for you that might get you the answer you need. It's a little bit more tedious, yes, but it's more fulfilling in the long run to get the answers you will need for your prompt and your research. Now, I'm going to show you, if you were researching the Lloyd Wright's methods, this is what it will look like in the interface. So Frank Lloyd Wright methods or techniques will be the wording you will use in Gateway Search. And if you were in the search page already, refining as you go, you could just type Frank Lloyd Wright in quotation marks, and in the second line, you would put methods or techniques. The or is important in capitals, and you can get 15,480 results. Again, a little broad, but you could always refine results on the left-hand side of the screen. This is, again, just showing you how to word your phrases to get some good results for your paper. And there were some good results when I searched for this. Then you will have a complex topic that you have to find. For example, the scenario that we have for this is this. You are in an English 101 course, which many of you might be in at this present moment, and are told to write your research paper on any topic that you so choose. You are interested in social media, and especially how social media is affecting the mental health of teenage girls. And I am sorry if you took our deep dive yesterday and I went through this exact same phrasing, but it just was the easiest for my brain to come up with at the moment. And you are told, this is how you're going to go about finding the search terms for this specific topic that you have chosen for yourself. By this point, you know that social media is a search term that you need to use. However, if you just search social media, you're going to get so much on other stuff, from the algorithms to the marketing to the targeted ads to all this confusing stuff. So you need to include teenage girls because you're looking for that specific demographic and how they interact with social media. You include that, but you're also noticing other things about teenage girls and social media, like, again, targeted ads for them. So you may want to also use the term mental health, so that because you're also showing how it impacts this demographic's mental health. So your search terms are social media and teenage girls and mental health. The and could also be substituted with a plus sign in many places in a library search, or even in a Google search. And this is how it will look in the interface. On the Mine Library page, the interface will look like this. This is the plus sign separating each individual phrase. Then the phrase is encased in quotation marks. So social media, quotes, plus teenage girls, quotes, then plus mental health, quotes. I guess I forgot the last quote, but you will know that that will be the end of that one, in case mental health and quotes. On the results page, if you were finding as you go, if you decide social media and you've got to whittle it down little by little by little, you'll get that. You have to do each line individually. Social media, next line with the and chosen, teenage girls, and with the next line chosen, mental health. And your search results will now come up to 2,463. That is a good amount of whittling. You might want to also, again, use the refine results area on the left-hand side of the screen in order for results page, in order for you to whittle as you go with full text or peer-reviewed or publication date to kind of whittle that part down. For most, also you could also choose different databases that might be useful for this, but we are doing the broadest search term the broadest searches as possible, just to give you an idea of what is possible and what you might have to do in order to search with a good phrases on the library page. Now, on occasion, and this is again very much not recommended that you do this, you will pre-write your thesis statement already before you even do any research. So say you are in an education class and you have a pretty good idea of what you already want to write about and what you want to prove for the research paper you were assigned to write. So you've written your thesis already. Disadvantaged students hit a number of roadblocks to their education, including food insecurity, unresolved health issues, and racism/sexism. This method, though, is not recommended. You should always do a bit of background search before writing any thesis statement. And here will be the reason when I provide you with the search terms, with some drawn out search terms for this thesis statement. You may think you can pick out the important words now because we've gone through several scenarios in which you are finding out that several important words within those scenarios. But you see disadvantaged students, you think that's a keyword. Roadblocks, food insecurity, unresolved health issues, racism, and sexism. If you put all of those in with those plus signs in the middle or the and phrase in the middle, you'll get so few results that you'll end up getting frustrated. So this is one of those cases, like in the Frank Lloyd Wright example, where you're going to have to break up your search into many different areas. So you're going to have to look at the specific roadblocks themselves, because you're looking at the food insecurity, unresolved health issues, and racism and sexism are the specific roadblocks you're trying to argue are the worst for disadvantaged students. A search for disadvantaged students and roadblocks may prove useful, or students plus roadblocks, but neither will exclusively look at the three roadblocks that you are looking at: the food insecurity, unresolved health issues, racism, and sexism. So you have to take each of the roadblocks in turn, like I did for the Frank Lloyd Wright example: students plus food insecurity, students plus health issues, students plus racism, or students plus sexism. You need not use the word roadblocks because these are already roadblocks, would be redundant. However, this method also creates a lot of work for you. Now, I did say that a little extra steps may prove useful for the complex topic. However, for this thesis statement, you're really shoehorning yourself into these as roadblocks. And if you end up finding nothing, you're going to hit the roadblocks yourself. So it might provide a little bit of harder work for you in order to prove this and find the information that you need. So you see, that is why you don't write your thesis before you do some back-end information. You would have wanted to do, in my third line, a search for disadvantaged students plus roadblocks, or students plus roadblocks, gets you that background information so you can determine what the roadblocks are. that you want to examine before you shoehorn yourself into those 3 roadblocks already. So this is just an example of one of the searches to show you what this would look like in the search page. So I just put students and food insecurity in the quotation marks on the second line, and I came up with 42,310 results. You will notice that with this alone, you come up with an extraordinary amount of results hits. So we can assume that this will be similarly so with the other searches. Again, this is again a detraction from just exploring a topic before you write your thesis. You may have just gotten away with exploring food insecurity for students alone instead of exploring all these 3 multiple roadblocks, which are comparable to writing the large dissertation for a doctoral student. So you've given yourself more work instead of something simple for like an 8-page paper. And this can cover an 8-page paper. So with that in mind, we've gone through some of the scenarios we have. But you noticed that I used some interesting terminologies when I was choosing the search terms, and these kind of help you help the library determine what you mean by how you're wording things. And these, you notice I use the word and or a plus sign between each of the search terms. This is a Boolean operator. And or a plus sign includes words. For example, in the social media example, it added that parameter of teenage girls to social media. So it allowed the library to know, the library algorithms to know that you wanted to find how social media interacts with teenage girls, and that only alone. Or explores alternative words. So then you could click that down button, and you can click that down button and it will give you that or choice as well. Explores all alternative words. For example, in the social media topic, you could have used an or to explore not only teenage girls or adolescent girls or young girls, all different permutations of that kind of term. Again, that was an example in the Frank Lloyd Wright example when I explored the word methods or techniques, because both are necessary to explore, because it could be, the article could have mentioned the methodology, but also could have mentioned techniques. Not excludes a word from a search. For example, this is a real world example that I helped a student with quite a few years ago. Searching the topic, teaching sign language to babies may turn up with a lot on teaching sign language to the deaf. So using the words not will tell the library to exclude the word deaf from the search. You will also notice that I took phrases and encased them in quotes. That forces the library to search as the phrase and not as the words, because the library does search as words. So, for example, my favorite example is Benedict Arnold, and if you just plug Benedict Arnold in as is, it will search using things that by a man named Benedict about a person named Arnold, or vice versa. So this allows you to search the phrase and make sure that the library is searching as the phrase. This is also useful in Google as well. I've encased many search and phrase in the phrase quotes, so that way I know I'm searching for something that has to do with that phrase instead of just something else instead of something else that searching as words would give me. Now that's, I guess, another way to hack Google. One final piece of advice: with some of these, you may not find exactly what you need with certain terms for various reasons, because of the wording you use, or if you've picked out a keyword that may prove too narrow for your case. So within that in mind, flexibility is key. Don't be afraid to change tack and use a synonym or two for some search terms that really aren't working. So using the methodology trick, for example, the complex topic about the artist. if you're using methods, perhaps try creative process, or like I said, techniques, or some other synonym for methods if you haven't decided to use the or function in the library search. So just kind of giving yourself a little bit more flexibility. You won't break the library if you have to do a search again. So that is my presentation. It ran a little early, so gives you time to ask questions. So any questions for this presentation? Do you have anything you would like to ask me? You could unmute yourself or use the chat function. I don't.
Hi, Pamela. I'm Susie.
Hi, Susie.
I just wanted to see if you could confirm to me that those prompt words need to be in quotations, and when I'm using certain words like not or they need to be capitalized. Is that right?
Okay, when you're searching for a phrase, you have to put in quotation marks. For example, like I did for Alzheimer's disease or social media or teenage girls, those have to be in quotation marks.
Okay.
But for like a simple word, like if you're just searching the word students or searching the word methods, or that does not need to be in quotation marks because it's just one plain word. And or not, I would encourage you to put that all in caps. It doesn't necessarily need to be, but I would just encourage you so that way you could get in the practice of doing that. Some library interfaces are kind of ticklish that way.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anything else? I'm going to give you a few minutes just so you could come up with any other questions. If not, then I will thank you for your time this afternoon for this half hour. If there's any final questions, go ahead. Okay, I think we're good, and I will thank you. I thank you for your time this Wednesday afternoon, and I thank you for your patience with my. Yes, Susie.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And do we have another question in the chat? Yes, we will send a recording. Yes, thank you, Julie, for answering that question. Yes, and we will send the recording out as soon as it is rendered into a video format, and it will be sent to you via the email that you provided when you registered for this presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So with those questions answered, and if there is no further questions, I thank you for this, again, for your time on this Wednesday afternoon, and thank you for your patience with my little bit of a tickle in my throat earlier, and I wish you a wonderful afternoon.